Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
So great to be here with you guys today. I still have my coffee. I hope everyone else is enjoying a beverage. So we should have an interesting talk this morning. I'm really happy to be here with Jeannine. I'm also from an iconic publishing company.
Yes, you are.
So this is just really interesting to kind of peel the curtain back on McGraw Hill. We all remember those textbooks, I'm sure. So you started. So you started at McGraw Hill in 2022, and that was kind of at the tail end of the pandemic. So it's a turbulent ride. It's an especially turbulent ride in higher ed and in school in general, you know, your clients. So can you talk about sort of what it was like to walk into that office, probably remote, and what was that aha moment for you when you saw the challenge that was going to unfold?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm sure everyone has their own experiences at that time. For me, walking in, the one thing that I noticed right away was the culture from McGraw Hill. Employees were just starting to come back. We still are hybrid and remote, but during that time, the pandemic had really accelerated our digital transformation. So as part of that, our employees rallied. They came together to really help teachers in a time of need. Teachers were in lockdown. They were trying to teach remotely. How do you do that? And we were positioned well to be able to deliver digital products that help teachers and students during that time. So productivity-wise, we did really well. We also did things, and I noticed this in terms of going back to our brand. We talk about Red Cube Proud as a company. So McGraw Hill, as you said, Red Cube is our iconic brand, and Proud is how our employees come together to serve the needs of our teachers and students.
I like that.
And that anchors everything that we do. So it's an altruistic mission that everyone really believes in, and they're very passionate about it. And it showed during the pandemic. We also, as a company, what we did for employees was we made sure we gave them the flexibility they needed to be able to do their jobs. We also made sure that we did things to look after. There's a duty of care that the leadership team takes very seriously at McGraw Hill. And so we would issue things like chill days and give people that ability from a mental health perspective to step away. So coming in, the organization was going through digital transformation. As a new leader, my job was to come in and look at what is the state of HR and enabling digital transformation, taking that assessment and then putting together a strategy and a plan to quickly come to pace to say, how do we transform HR to meet the stage where we were in business transformation with digital transformation, and then keep up with it, because it continues.
Absolutely. And digital transformation, I'm sure it's a thing in all of our businesses. I know at the Inquirer it certainly is. So can you talk a bit about what digital transformation means in the world of HR?
Yeah, so, and again, I'm going to speak about it in terms of McGraw Hill, and I'll probably come back to this a little bit later, but everything we do because we are business leaders applying HR skill sets to support the business strategy. And I'll probably say that quite often because in my experience, that is what leads to success and effective support of the business. And so for digital transformation for the company, we used to be print, and everyone probably knows us as that. And so over time, the needs of our teachers and students have changed when you look at today's world, and we have pivoted and changed along with that. And so how do we stay closely connected, whether it's talking to a K-12 teacher or a district, or talking to professors and colleges and universities about how are they doing their job, what tools will make their jobs easier, where they can really focus on the learning of the student. And each student's needs are very different. So how do we make sure our products are keeping up with that? So change is a constant for us. And so for HR, what we're trying to do is make sure we're looking at what are the skills we need as a company? What are those profiles for jobs that we need to support the business? How's the business organized in terms of org design? How do we come knowing what the business needs are to then be that strategist and make sure operationally we're there to support them through all the things that they need to do to continue to transform?
So that sounds like a shift to me. You know, I feel like in my imagination, HR was more of a back office kind of function, more transactional. And what you're talking about is really being in the executive suite, really talking about business strategy.
Absolutely.
How does that shift manifest at McGraw-Hill?
Well, today, what I can say is in my 1.5 years here, we've done a lot of change. And so looking at, like I said, how is HR showing up to support the business? What are the business needs? Meeting with a lot of leaders and really understanding our business transformation, the needs of our leaders, the needs of our employees, and how can we do better? How can we optimize? What does that look like? And so in our case, it shows up as changing to a high-impact HR operating model. So you think about a sports team, right? Everybody on the team has a position to play versus trying to play every position. That's what's in place. We have business HR strategists and leaders and advisors working right with our business presidents. We have centers of expertise that are focused for the enterprise, talent management, DEI strategies, culture, compensation, benefits, HR technology and analytics. How are we going to explore that to bring back information to the business so we can be more proactive and making sure that we're operationally excellent in the ways that we do things so that we can be scalable over time. So that's kind of HR transformation at a very high level, and we continue. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not a flip of a switch. We're still in working through that and really refining that. So that's where we are right now.
Are there any tools that have become important as you make this shift?
Lots of tools, for sure. But one area that we're focused on right now, and I'll take it back to the pandemic. In the pandemic, we have a remote workforce. Managers are connecting with their employees or maybe not connecting with their employees. How do we show up to help from a performance management standpoint to give leaders the tools that they need, the guidance that they need to connect and make those connections in a meaningful way where employees know what's expected of them, they understand what their performance goals are, and they know how they're doing over time. So that connection, I think, was a little... It relaxed a little bit, I think, to some degree, not in all cases, but we're looking, as we look at a remote and hybrid world, how we strengthen those connections.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When you're kind of refining the model for performance management, is there kind of one golden rule that you have really ascribed to?
Yeah, one of the things I say is there should be no surprises, right? So if I'm an employee, I should know what my boss expects of me. I should know what my team is responsible for and what role do I play. And if I'm veering off the mark, I shouldn't find that out at the end of the year. I shouldn't find that out some other time. I should know where I stand and really be in that kind of coaching, mentoring relationship with my manager so that I know I have some work to do here. I'm giving feedback to my boss on how things are going. It's this symbiotic relationship where it's constantly focused not just on the performance, but also authentic relationships. And that's a big theme that I've seen in terms of leadership capability, not just the transactional side of working with your employee, but do you have a relationship? Do you understand your employees? What motivates them? You kind of showing up fully present with them as they are with you and making sure in a remote world you're staying connected.
Yeah, I mean, that is really challenging in the remote world. And McGraw-Hill is a large company, I imagine.
Yep, we're over 4,000 employees. We're in over 40 countries.
Wow.
We're international, yep.
Wow. So from an HR perspective, are there other tools or kind of habits that you use to keep the workforce connected?
Well, we do a lot in terms of, and I'll talk about, this is part of our culture. We have this Red Cube Cares program where employees every year around the world will rally around to submit and participate in volunteering efforts. It's something that everyone looks forward to every year. We give a day off so people can do their volunteer work, but I've never seen anything to the level and extent in terms of engagement, hype. People really get passionate around it. So we're very much, and we have charities that we participate in. And so I think that does connect us around the world, and I see how much people rally around it. I will say, and I'll put a plug in, you know, if you look on social media, we just posted a little video about Red Cube Proud, and so you can see it for yourselves.
Wow. Wow, yeah, I guess that's kind of the mission of the work that
right.
you guys are doing.
That's exactly right.
And as you stay focused on that mission, but continue to digitally transform, is there any product or kind of, a product that McGraw-Hill has put out that really embodies that shift?
Yes, so there's two quick examples I can give. One is in 2022, we launched a product called Sharpen. And Sharpen is another example of, during our digital transformation, going out and hearing from students and what are your needs and your study habits. And so we launched this app in 2022, and it's a study aid. It's a study aid for learners. You can pull it up on your phone wherever they are. They can go through our curated content to help them with quick quizzes and that kind of thing, and it's interactive. So it's a social media type of platform. It's what we've heard from the students who helped inform the product build. They said it's like their textbook and TikTok had a baby. So that's kind of how it took off, and it continues to be something that we're really, really excited about.
I mean, students these days, right? Like TikTok, textbook, sounds kind of fun.
Exactly, and that's the idea, right? It's interactive, it's easy, it's bite-sized, content, and it's helping students learn wherever they are. The other example I would give is in our higher education business, we have a customer success team. So if you think of transformation, digital transformation, it's not just about the technology, it's also about the people. We needed to think about different roles and profiles to support our digital offerings in the higher education space. And so we created this customer service team in our higher ed, or customer success team, And they are responsible for making sure they're meeting with instructors and students to make sure the products are sound, what is their input, do they understand they're getting the most value out of the products? And we knew that we needed to add that service offering as part of transformation.
Right, so it's more like a human interface.
That's right.
Between the book, the digital product, and the...
And customer-centric, if you haven't, that's the common theme as we've been talking through this. It all comes back to the customer and the needs of the customer to make things easier for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in your work with HR at McGraw-Hill, is there messaging that has shifted internally to kind of help people adjust to it sounds like that's a evolving focus.
So tell me more what you're thinking there in terms of...
do you have a kind of way that you talk about this with your workforce around the consumer-centric focus that helps them bring that down to their teams and infuses sort of the hiring and employment cycle?
I would say it's embedded in everything that we do. It's very clear all the way from our senior leadership through all employees what our mission is. Mm-hmm. And it's to help the teachers and students that we serve and to make it easier for them and to meet learners on their own unique learning paths. And so I think that more than, I've seen in my past experience, it's very, very prominent. Everyone understands that. So in terms of how that shows up, I think we have ways that we connect out. Our CEO does videos quite often to reach out to the employees. We have our senior leadership that we're very transparent. How are we doing in terms of a business? What's our performance look like? Where do we need your support and help? And then it comes down to the leader. Ultimately, every manager is responsible for making sure, we get back to performance management, what is it that me as an employee, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm making that connection right back to the customer? And so that's where setting performance goals, which is another tool that we're kind of refining so that we can make sure that that clarity and that connection, that connectedness is very clear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So one thing that I always like to do at the end of every interview is kind of ask if there's one thing that you'd like to share with the audience or share with me that I didn't ask about. So here's your moment. What's that one thing?
And I don't know if it counts because I sort of alluded to it before, but I really believe, and I come personally to the table in my professional role, I lead with being a business strategist. HR has the unique ability to jump industry. You can go across and transverse a lot of different industries. And coming to the business to really understand what is it we do, how do we do it, how do we need to do it better, being that member at the leadership team, and I have the privilege to sit with the CEO and my peers on the leadership team to talk about the direction of the company and the strategy. Only then can you then overlay, okay, here are the HR strategies that are going to really support that to make sure that we achieve those goals. So being that business strategist along with authentic relationships is how you do it. And listening to our customers, right? So our customers in HR are our employees, the business leadership, our owners, the executive team, of course. And so we pretty much have everybody as our customer. And so it's important that the business coupled with what we deliver for HR is highly connected.
Wow, yeah. Well, that leaves me with something to think about for sure. We have about a minute left, and I wonder if anyone from the audience has a question.
There's a hand.
There is a hand. Okay, over there.
One of the things we have found is leadership teams in particular over the last few years, there's a lot of challenges in terms of points of view and approaches, like how to navigate hybrid, return to office, all that type of stuff. What have you found in your leadership team that you do to help make sure you all have an environment where you can have those really challenging conversations so that trust and make the calls that need to be done for your team?
That's a great question. And I was lucky enough at the time that I started where our CEO had reinstituted on-site leadership team, executive team meetings. And we have very open, transparent conversations, whether that's the topic, which it was, along with other topics. And our CEO creates that environment where we leave everything at the door. Our job is to say what's best for our workforce. And it's not about anybody's individual agendas. We have to make the right decision collectively, and the CEO relies on us as an advisory group, and it works really well. And we have the hard conversations. We will bring up differences of opinion, and we will talk it through. So that's one of the things I love about my job, because I know that we have our focus on the right place. I can say what I think, everybody can say what they think, and at the end of the day, we know we've been very thoughtful about the decisions that we've made for the workforce. And then, of course, the communication is important after that. How do we convey that to the employees so they know that, we have their best interest at heart, here's how we go about it, and they know that we take it seriously. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, this was great, Jeannine, so thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Ariella. This was great. Thanks so much.